Hare Krishna everyone. Welcome to this session on stories from Srimad Bhagavatam. Before we start, I'd like to thank the organizer for arranging such a wonderful initiative because Srimad Bhagavatam is such a wonderful scripture, and by going through Srimad Bhagavatam in this story format, it will encourage all of us to Srimad Bhagavatam with more attention to detail and with more effort. So today we are going to cover chapter 12 and chapter 13 from Canto 1 of Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Jnana Jnana Shalakaya Chakshunitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Chaitanya Mano Vishtam Sthapitam Yena Utale Samrupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Sha Shri Rupam Shajajatam Sahagana Gunatam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Payana Shaitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sajana Larita Shri Vishnitam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Radha Kanta Namasate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishavanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha kalpataru vaishya kripa sindhu vacha patithanan pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So today the title of the chapter is Birth of Emperor Parikshit. So this actually, if we want to see like the prelude for this chapter, it comes we see that the previous chapters have been various things which are happening, but this was actually right after chapter 7. And this actually, birth of Parikshit at that point of time, this started. But in between we have few other chapters. But that's how Srimad Bhagavatam, it's generally doesn't go exactly in that order. But in chapter 7, where we see that Ashwat, after he killed the sons of the Pandavas, he was running away and get caught by Arjuna, and then he was rightly he was punished. And after that, this story starts. So, but before that also we see that in chapter 4. After the sages ask all the sixth question, which we know that the sixth question which actually started Srimad Bhagavatam. In chapter 4, in the 9th verse, there is another question which was asked by the sages. And the verse goes like, Avimanyu sutam sutta prahur bhagavata uttamam tasya janma mahaschayam karmani cha prihina. Translation: it is said that Maharaj Parikshit is a great first-class devotee of the Lord, and that his birth and activities are all wonderful. Please tell us about him. So we see that that the question was already asked by the sages, to hear about Parikshit Maharaj. So from there we come to this chapter 12, and we see that in chapter 12, starting that with Sanaka Rishi. Starting for the first text, that the sage Sanaka said, the womb of Uttara, mother of Maharaj Parikshit, was spoiled by the dreadful and invincible Brahmastra weapon released by Ashwathama. But Maharaj Parikshit was saved by the Supreme Lord. So, when Krishna was about to leave, for Dwarka, so after they slay Ashwatthama. Then Krishna was about to leave, and then there was these wonderful prayers by Kunti Maharani, which we have went through in the previous chapter. And after that, Yudhishthira Maharaj approached Krishna, and he was feeling like really guilty because he was just thinking that because of him, 650 million of population was killed. Like he was taking it on him that because of him getting to get the throne, all this population were killed. So he was feeling very guilty. So we see that after that, actually, and he was succumbed to that guilt. But then Bhishma Pitamaha, he actually gave him very good instructions, and by listening to that, Yudhishthira Maharaj actually understood the real essence of it, and he overcame that grief. So while this, these are actually happening, but at the same time, when Krishna was about to leave from Hastinapur, then Uttara came running, and she was under so much stress, and she was screaming to Krishna that Ashwatthama actually has, he has actually thrown another Brahmastra. And because she how she was feeling it, because there is an immense amount of heat which actually creating so much pain in her, in her belly, where the child is, because Ashwatthama was he directed that Brahmastra towards the air of the Pandavas, so that he wanted to make sure that there is no air remain alive for the Pandavas. But then we see that at that point of time, what happened, that when he did that, then Krishna, who is the protector of his devotees, no matter whatever that danger is, he always protects the devotee, right? And we know that famous verse, Kunteya pratijanahi name bhakta pranashyati. So then we see that how Parikshit Maharaj got saved by Lord Krishna. So the explanation he gave, description, which was given here, is so wonderful. If you just read, here in text number 6, text number 7. O son of Bhrigu, Sonaka, when the child Parikshit, the great fighter, was in the womb of his mother Uttara, and was suffering from the burning heat of Brahmastra thrown by Ashwatthama, he could observe the Supreme Lord coming to him. So Parikshit Maharaj was so fortunate, before even his birth, he was in the womb of his mother, and he got darshan of the Lord. And how was that? And then what did he saw? And in text 8 and 9, it has been so wonderfully it has been described. He, the Lord, was only thumb high, but he was all transcendental. He had a very beautiful, blackish, infallible body, and he wore a dress of lightning yellow and a helmet of blazing gold. Thus he was seen by the child. So that's how Parikshit Maharaj's vision, he got this vision of Krishna. The Lord was enriched with 4 hands, earring of molten gold, and eyes blood red with fury. As he loitered about, his club constantly encircled him like a shooting star. So, what he's saying here, that obviously the Lord taking the form of Vishnu, and he is really angry because someone is trying to harm his devotee, and his club is just moving around around the womb like a shooting star. So then the Lord was thus engaged in vanquishing the radiation of the Brahmastra. Just as a sun evaporates the drop of dew, he was observed by the child who thought about who he was. So here we see it's such a wonderful description that Brahmastra is the most powerful weapon. We saw that all the all the Maharathis, all the big, the Kshatriyas, they wanted to have Brahmastra, but um, they couldn't. They couldn't. It's not easy to get, and if you also get it, when it was given to anyone, it was based on the fact that, that you have to understand that if you actually release it, then it can, destroy an universe. So here, what to talk about here, what to talk about a womb? Ashwatthama actually has thrown it to a womb, like just a normal human being, Uttara, to destroy a child which is like not even born, to destroy that womb. So you can well imagine the amount of power it actually came with. And what? And then we saw that the Lord, he actually appeared there, and the way that he managed it is, the description is that how, if you see the dewdrop, like sometimes we go in the morning, we go to the field and we see the dew on the grass, and then as soon as the sun comes up, the dew gets evaporated. So the most powerful weapon here is actually, here Krishna dealt that like a dewdrop. So it just evaporated. So if we just think about it, if Krishna protects his devotee like that, no matter whatever danger comes, and this is so wonderfully explained in the purport, because these two chapters, 12 and 13, has almost 100, almost near to 100 verses. So because I have to go through that within 3 days, it's not possible to go through the purport. But in the purport, and but that is one of the aim, for having this session, so that devotees get interested and enthused to read all those purports. That if you read the purport that Srila Prabhupada is explaining, that when someone actually read it, and then they have this understanding that if the Lord just take out the most powerful weapon like a dewdrop, then you can well imagine that no matter whatever problem, whatever calamity, whatever catastrophe comes towards our way, if we surrender to Krishna, all of them are nothing more than a dewdrop. Like obviously we are not facing something, yes, we are in middle of a pandemic, but we are not facing something which is is going to destroy the universe. So something like that is so wonderful to read here, that how Lord actually he saved Maharaj Parikshit. So here, and Maharaj Parikshit also, that was his vision of the Lord, that he saw that someone who is not bigger than the thumb high, and he was just saving him from this deadly weapon. So what happened after that? While thus being observed by the child, the Supreme Lord, personality of Godhead, the super soul of everyone, and the protector of the righteous, who stretches in all direction and who is unlimited by time and space, disappeared at once. So when that weapon was destroyed, then Krishna just disappeared from that place. And that was Parikshit Maharaj's first vision of the Lord. So this is the first, that how we are saying, we are going step by step, that how Parikshit Maharaj is born. So this is now still he hasn't been born. So the next one is, thereupon, when all the good signs of the zodiac gradually evolved, the heir apparent of Pandu, who would be exactly like him in prowess, took birth. So after that, when all the signs, as we know, zodiac signs, they are all into the proper favorable position, then Parikshit Maharaj was born. And after that, after he was born, King Yudhishthir, who was very satisfied with the birth of Maharaj Parikshit, had the purificatory process of birth performed. Learned Brahmanas headed by Dhaumya and Kripa recited auspicious hymns. Now, here one of the point that also Srila Prabhupada also mentioned, that here what we see that Kripa actually is Kripacharya, like who was like one of the main priests in like in their dynasty. He actually he fought the Kurukshetra battle from the side of the Duryodhana. So he was with Dronacharya and Bhishma and Kripacharya. So they were like the three big statesmen. They are the most oldest, oldest and the wisest. Kripacharya, um, 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 Bhishmadev, and Dronacharya. But and also they were Kripacharya was also involved in in the battle, and then during the death of Abhimanyu he was involved also in that one. But here what we see that after the battle finished, Yudhishthira Maharaj, when he became the king, he put Kripacharya again as a head priest. So as as it say here, the learned brahmanas. So which is so wonderful, because if just imagine that if something happened, if someone does something to us, not in, even not into that extent of someone kills someone of our very close, near and dear ones, but here Kripacharya was involved in that one. But Yudhishthira Maharaj didn't look at that. He looked at his qualification of Kripacharya, and he actually put him into his right place. Then how it's possible? Srila Prabhupada said that it's possible because the Yudhishthira Maharaj was seeing whatever happened as a will of Krishna. Now it's a very important thing to understand that if we see everything which has been happening around us as a will of Krishna, then actually it has a different effect on us, rather than if we see that, oh, someone is deliberately doing this to us, someone is deliberately trying to harm us, someone is being vindictive towards us. If we just see in that way, it actually also makes us we also take the similar qualities. So we also become vindictive, we also becomes greedy, we also becomes that kind of that anger, that greed actually also comes over, it also take over us, and we also try to do the same thing to that other person. But if we see that, okay, this is a will of Krishna, what to do? I will just move on. Then we see this is the characteristics of the the great devotees. And Yudhishthira Maharaj was a great devotee of the Lord, and we see that, and also he was the ruler of the universe. So this is wonderful quality. So irrespective of, he saw that okay, he did that, but his rightful place is this. So he put Kripacharya, and not even that. When we will read after this that when the Pandavas they retires, they actually leave the Hastinapur, whom did Yudhishthira Maharaj put in charge for the next for Parikshit Maharaj? Under whom in charge he kept him? Under Kripacharya. So that's why we see it's so wonderful to understand from it, to understand in that way that if we have Krishna, if we see that in our life, that whatever is happening, good things, obviously we don't contemplate that much, but most of the time we contemplate more on the bad things, right? But if we just think that it is because of Krishna, it's Krishna's will, then it becomes so much easier to go through them. So going forward, upon the birth of a son, the king, who knew how, when, and where charity should be given, gave gold, land, villages, elephant, horses, and good food grains to the Brahmanas. So this is Yudhishthira Maharaj doing all the charities as it's required. The learned Brahmanas, who were very satisfied with the charities of the king, addressed him as the chief amongst the Purus and informed him that his son was certainly in the line of descent from the Purus. So here we see that all this because as we already have read here, that the son was born when all the zodiac signs were in a proper situation. It was the birth was very auspicious, and when you see that someone was born and he was already protected by the Lord before even being born, then it will be always auspicious, right? It has all the signs of auspiciousness there. So what to say about, like, doing some, like, any other, like, even all these other requirements hasn't been done, like the charities or all the other rituals. Still, the auspiciousness will be there, because the Lord himself appeared and he saved Parikshit Maharaj. So that's why it's like, it was always there, like, it was always there. But still, Yudhishthira Maharaj, as he is always follow the rules and regulations, he actually did all these things as per the requirement. Now this brahmanas, then he actually now asking questions to the brahmanas. Then he is asking that, like, and when he asking that how this the good king Yudhishthir inquired, "O great souls, will he become as saintly as a king, as pious in his very name, as famous and glorified in his achievements as others who appeared in this royal family?" So obviously, like, they were, like, from this great dynasty. So Yudhishthira Maharaj, first his first question was, like, will he be a good devotee? And in that when he asked that, it was the brahmanas, they actually replied that, for this the child will be known for in the world as one who is protected by personality of the Godhead. O most fortunate one, there is no doubt that this child will become a first class devotee and will be qualified with all good qualities. So in text 17, Parikshit Maharaj is, like, is called as Vishnu Rata. Vishnu Rata means whoever, like, who is protected by the Lord. So as we know, like, he's, so that's why it's saying that for this reason this child will be well known in the world as one who is protected by the personality of Godhead. That's why his name is, another name is Vishnu Rata. And when, like, the Lord is obviously from the beginning of his life, he will definitely be a very, very good devotee, and he will be qualified with all good qualities. Now, after this, when Yudhishthira Maharaj came to know that, okay, you'll be a very nice devotee, so what's the next question? Next question he asked, because these are the, like, these learned brahmanas. They are, like, they went through all the astrological science, and they, like, astrology is a science, right? And they actually went through all the astrological science, and they read it through, and as per the position of the different stars and planets, and they work it out, and they see that, okay, these are all the favorable or unfavorable sign for someone. And from there they are just saying this. So it is not like that, that these brahmanas, they are, like, just saying as a flattery to the king, like, because, oh, the king has given us so much charity and so many things, so that's why we are going to say good things. No, they actually went through all these things, and they actually telling all these things to the king, that this is what is true. Because if we say that when Duryodhana was born, the at this point of time, the brahmanas, they also did the astrology, all these things, they looked at it, and they actually went to Bhishma and said that, if, it will be better that if this child dies in the womb, or, he doesn't become a king, because if he comes out, he will be someone who will be, like, really, he's he will be really jealous, and he will be really greedy, and he will be someone who will have lots and lots of power, but he will misuse it. And Bhishma actually went to Dhritarashtra, and he told him. But as we know, Dhritarashtra, he was literally, and also, figuratively, and also relatively, he was blind. So because, and he was really excited about his son's birth, he didn't want to hear that, because Bhishma, he warned him that, please be careful. This son of you, he will actually, he will bring this dynasty to the doom. but Dhritarashtra didn't. But when how did they came to find out? Because all those inauspicious signs which came. But anyway, they didn't listen to it, and that's how we see that what happened. But in this case, all this favorable, it is very favorable signs were there. So Yudhishthira Maharaj came to know that this boy will be a very good devotee. So the next question he asked that will he become a saintly king, as pious in his very name, and as famous and glorified in his achievements as others who appeared in this great royal family. So then the learned Brahmana said, so from text 19 to text 26, the Brahmana is actually now explaining that what kind of king, what kind of ruler he will be. The learned Brahmana said, O son of Pritha, this child shall be exactly like King Ikshaku, son of Manu, in maintaining all those who are born. Right? So, first of all, say that he will be like Ikshaku. So we know that Ikshaku was the first one in the dynasty. And he was son of Manu. So Manu was we know that Manu, the first being after Brahma. And then Ikshaku. And we know that in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said that, the first time, there's knowledge actually from in terms of the king, it came to Ikshaku. So Ikshaku got this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. So we know that, how he was a very elevated devotee. And then in terms of a king, he is maintaining all those who are born. So it's not only, so Srila Prabhupada actually said in the purport that maintaining doesn't mean that he was only the maintainer of the human beings. He was maintainer for everything which was born. So all the living entities, even the animals and everything, he was taking care of. Like these days we see that, if for a ruler or someone who is looking after a place, they only look after the human beings, and then they say, okay, for the to make sure the human beings they have they are well kept and well fed. They kill the animals, they destroy the forest, but not in the Vedic ages. They have to make sure all the living entities in the kingdom needs to be protected. So here, the first thing the sages said, the Brahmanas said that Parikshit Maharaj will be like that. And then, and the next one they said that, and as for the following the Brahmanical principle, especially in being true to his promise, he shall be exactly like Rama, the personality of Godhead, the son of Maharaj Dashrath, the son of Maharaj Dashrath. Now, in purport, Srila Prabhupada mentioned that why, suddenly, if we know that Ramchandra is Maryada Purushottam Ramchandra, right? And he always maintained his promises. But specifically here, why it is just mentioned that the son of Maharaj Dashrath? Because to actually make us understand that, just remember the time that what happened, that Lord Ram was supposed to be coronated as the king next day. And in that day, during the daytime, all the ceremonies which requires to happen before the day of the coronation already happened, right? But in the evening, Maharaj Dashrath called him in his room and said that, look, you are not going to be the king tomorrow. You are not going to be coronated. Bharat will be in your place. He will be coronated, and you have to go to the forest. And he said, yes, fine. It's fine with me. He was not angry. He was not anything he didn't have any kind of he wasn't frustrated, or didn't have any anxiety. And on top of that, he maintained that promise. So he made that promise that, okay, next day he was going to be the king of the universe. Just imagine, how big that is. He was supposed to be the king of the universe, and then it was just taken away from him. But he said, yes, that's fine. He just gave it up. He made the promise, and he kept that promise. Like we know that even when he went to the, when he went for for 14 years into the jungle, then also Bharat came and asked him to come back. There are so many times, the different personalities ask him to go back, but he said that no, I have made this promise, and I'm not going to go back. So he remained in his exile. So that actually shows how he will be. So here it shows that as for the Brahmanical principles, especially so here it's mentioned that for Brahmanical principles, there are so many Brahmanical principles, but being true to his promise, that is the topmost. So if someone is making any promise to keep it, that is one of the topmost Brahmanical principle, and Parikshit Maharaj will maintain it. Then we see that the child will be a munificent donor of charity and protector of the surrendered, like famous King Shivi of the Ushinara country. So we see that Shivi here, Maharaj Shivi. We see that in the story in Srimad Bhagavatam that what happened that one time a pigeon was getting chased by a a hunter bird, and the pigeon came and took shelter of Maharaj Shivi. And then Maharaj Shivi said that okay, that you are in my shelter, don't worry, I will protect you. And then the hunter bird came and said that, look, this is my prey, this is my food for the day, I want it. Then Maharaj Shivi said, you can look, I'm the king, I can give you anything else, but not this, because this pigeon is under my shelter. But he couldn't, he didn't agree to that, the bird. So then Maharaj Shivi said, okay, how about this pigeon, it has meat in it, how about I give you the similar amount of meat from my body to you. So a king is talking about he could easily get rid of that hunter bird, right? But he is seeing that as per of the principle, the hunter bird looked at the pigeon and he saw that, okay, this is my food. So if he either kill the hunter bird or the pigeon, hunter bird he shouldn't kill, because the hunter bird came for its its food. So that's why he's saying that although being a king, he's just saying, okay, for a pigeon I will sacrifice my own flesh. Now this whole thing was a pastime, and what happened that because Maharaj Shivi was such a he was such a munificent donor of charity, so the demigods, they were just testing. So this pigeon was Agnidev, the fire god. So what happened that they brought a balance and then balance scale. So on one side, Maharaj, that pigeon was there, and another side, Maharaj Shivi, he was cutting his flesh and putting there. So whatever he put, how much flesh he is cutting, he was not getting enough. So then what happened? He just sat down on the scale by himself. He just sat down. He thought, okay, let me just sacrifice my whole flesh. So just imagine, just from such a nominal thing, he sacrificed his own body. But it's because that pigeon came under his shelter. So when someone is in your shelter, no matter what happened, you have to protect them. So that's the principle. So it's such high, this is the from morality and everything that we are talking about. If this kind of thing, someone here these days, they'll say no, this, and the Maharaj Shivi is not like that he did it for his own son or for his own family member. It's just for a pigeon. So such these are such munificent. You just don't get this kind of examples. So Parikshit Maharaj will have that. This is the Brahmanas are saying that he will have all this quality, and then he will expand the name and fame of his family, like Bharat, the son of Maharaj Vishwanta. So we know that Bharat, from Bharat it came the Bharat Varsha, right? and Bharat was the son of Dushwanta and Shakuntala. So from he was such a he was such a great king that from his name, the name of the this whole Bharatavarsha came, Bharat Bhumi. So Parikshit Maharaj's name and fame will be like this big. Then the Brahmana said that amongst great bowmen, this child will be as good as Arjuna. He will be irresistible as fire and as unsurpassable as ocean. So now Arjuna is obviously Parikshit Maharaj's grandfather, and saying that he will be he will be as great bowman. At that point of time, there was no one as bigger, as stronger, or a bowman than Arjuna. But then he will be as good as Arjuna, and he will be as irresistible as fire. Fire is irresistible, right? When we see that when fire goes from we all here in specifically in Australia, we know when we see that the pictures of bushfire, the mile after mile, the lands, the forest land, they are just burning, and it is terrible. It takes the firefighters months after months to actually take out that fire, right? So similarly, Arjuna, his fame, his glory is irresistible. His character is something which is as it's so in this again in the purport, if you read, there is one Srila Prabhupada is mentioning one of the example of Arjuna's his character, and how magnificent it is, that he went to the Indraloka. So Indraloka he went, and then Lord Indra, because before the battle of Kurukshetra, Arjuna was going to all the different planets to get the celestial weapons, so that it can help him during the war, right? So he went to Indraloka to get the thunderbolt from Indra. So obviously Indra is actually Arjun's father. When Kunti Maharani she prayed as one of the 5 children, Indra was one of them who came and gave a son, and that is Arjun. So Indra already knew it. So for his son, he already very happily gave him the weapon, and then also he asked him that stay back in this and stay back in the kingdom for some time. So Arjuna was there, and then Indra invited him to see all the wonderful dancers that he had. So one of the dancers was Urvashi, and when Urvashi saw Arjuna, she was really she was really impressed. Such Arjuna was really beautiful and such strongly built, and he was one of the best archer. So Urvashi was so mesmerized by Arjuna that she actually almost she actually surrendered herself to Arjuna. But Arjuna at that point of time, he was being he said that no, I'm not going to give up to this, and he refused Urvashi. And because of that, Urvashi obviously cursed him, that because you will not be able to enjoy any other woman for a while. But what happened in this what we see that in this section, that Arjuna's character, it was spotless. And the way that he these two things in Kali Yuga, Krishna Prabhupada is saying the two things in Kali Yuga which actually created most of the quarrel, most of the fights, and most of the disturbance, that is Kamini and Kanchan. So Kamini is opposite sex, so the attraction for opposite sex, that is Kamini, and Kanchan is gold. So gold, money, whatever you say. So these are the two things which actually create all the problems. And here in this here we're seeing that Urvashi, who is the most beautiful like a person, like in the celestial world, like she is offering herself to Arjuna, and Arjuna is refusing. So that shows the character of a leader. The leader's character should be like this. It's spotless, and they should always be able to actually control these urges. So that's how it says that Arjuna, and that's why it's mentioned that he will be irresistible as fire and unsurpassable as ocean. So next Brahmana says that this child will be as strong as a lion and as worthy a shelter as Himalayan mountains. So in purport, Srila Prabhupada mentioning that for a lion is the most, he is the most strong, he's the most ferocious and strongest, in terms of the he cannibal. But one of the thing with lion is when he is with his family, he remains very calm. But when he sees that there is something comes which is coming to harm his family, then he just chases them away with great force. So similarly for a leader, within their own people, he is as humble as me. But whenever he sees that someone is coming to hurt them, he just chases them away. So that is the quality of the leader. So this is basically the Brahmanas, the learned sages. They are saying this, all these qualities will be there in Parikshit Maharaj. And then as worthy a shelter as Himalaya mountain. So we know that how vast is Himalaya mountain is. We see that all the sages, all the the big sages, they goes to the Himalayan mountains and take shelter there for doing their sadhana. Then he will be forbearing like the earth and as tolerant as his parents. So that like the earth, he will bear all this, all these difficulties, the earth planet, and as tolerant as his parents. So we see his parents, his grandparents, Yudhishthira Maharaj, went through so much in their life. So many, it's. They went through so many misgivings, so many what happened with them. Although without doing anything wrong, they just went through. They just went through. They get all this blaspheming. So it is just unheard of. So still they remain tolerant all the time. They didn't cross the limit before the battle start. But obviously in the field of battle, in the battlefield, it's all it's legitimate. But before that, they never ever did anything like that. Duryodhan, from the time of his birth, his one and only aim was to harm the Pandavas. He wanted to harm them in any way. Can you imagine a kid? A small kid, they were mere 3-4-year-old kids. They were playing with each other, and Duryodhan in his mind, he has he gave poison to him. Can you imagine a kid giving poison to another kid? But that is how Duryodhan was. And from every time, he tried to burn them alive. Then he took their kingdom by treachery. Then he went into the exile. Then also in the exile, he wanted to do so many things so that their thing get broken, so that they have to go to the exile again. So many things. But did we ever saw that Pandavas, they actually came and did something in equal way, in such way to Duryodhan? No. Because again, Yudhishthira Maharaj, as I said previously, he was saying that, okay, this is all happening and this is Krishna's will. This is the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we are meant to take this, all this blasphemy, all this misfortune, all these misgivings, all these things we have to take. We'll just take it and we'll move on. So that's why, they were tolerant. Trinadupi Sunichana, Durepasayashana. Amanena manadena kirtaniya sadahari. So that is the mood. That is the mood of the devotee. Then in the next verse, the child will be like his grandfather Yudhishthir or Brahma in equanimity of mind. He will be munificent like the Lord of Kailasha hill, Shiva, and he will be the resort of everyone, like the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan, who is even the shelter of Goddess of Virtue. So he is saying, like, he will be like um, his like Lord Shiva. Here it's mentioned Lord Shiva is Ashutosh. He's easily pleased, and he gives anyone he comes for any kind of boon, he just gives it. Ashutosh is very, very easily pleased. And also he will be like like Lord Narayan. He will give shelter and protection to everyone. Then it's mentioned that the child will be almost as good as Lord Sri Krishna by following his footsteps. In magnanimity, he will become as great as King Rantideva, and in religion, he will be like Maharaj Yayati. So just in this, and while we are going through all these verses, in every verse, Srila Prabhupada actually going through in everyone's name, all the names that they are mentioning, Srila Prabhupada actually in the purport actually going through under everyone's name, and he was giving the description that why their name was mentioned, right? So until now we have read all the we have read about King Shivi, and we have read about Arjuna, and then Brahma, and then like Lord Shiva, and Srila Prabhupada is actually giving explanation. So in here it's mentioned that the child will be almost as good as Lord Sri Krishna by following in his footsteps, right? So I was just thinking that let's just read that what Srila Prabhupada is saying, that what he actually wrote under Lord Krishna. So here, Srila Prabhupada is writing in the purport for verse number 24. The last instruction of Lord Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita is that one should give up everything and should follow in the footsteps of Lord alone. Less intelligent persons do not agree to this great instruction of the Lord, as ill luck would have it. But one who is actually intelligent catches up this sublime instruction and is immensely benefited. Foolish people do not know that association is the cause of acquiring qualities. Association with fire make an object hot, even in the material sense. Therefore, association with Supreme Personality of Godhead makes one qualified like the Lord. As we have discussed previously, one can achieve 78% of godly qualities by the Lord's intimate association. To follow the instructions of the Lord is to associate with the Lord. The Lord is not a material object whose presence one has to feel for such association. The Lord is present everywhere at all time. It is quite possible to have his association simply by following his instructions, because the Lord and his instructions and the Lord and his name, fame, attributes, and paraphernalia are all identical with him, being absolute knowledge. Maharaj Parikshit associated with the Lord even from the womb of his mother up to the last day of his valuable life, and thus he acquired all the essential good qualities of the Lord in all perfection. So Srila Prabhupada so wonderfully here summarized that why it was mentioned that he will, why the learned sages make mention here that he will acquire the qualities of the Lord by following his footsteps, because that's what the Lord asked us to do. He instructed us to do that, by following. Sarva dharmam parityajam mam ekam sharanam braja. So leave everything and just follow me, and that's how you will come back to me. So so I thought that is so wonderful just to share that. So like how wonderfully Srila Prabhupada has explained it there. Then in next one, he said that in magnanimity, he will become as great as King Rantidev. So King Rantidev, we see like in Canto 9, there is the story of King Rantidev. And here we see that he was like, he is king, but he was doing this, he was doing this penance and tapasya, and he was fasting for a long time. And then what happened that, and when the time came to break the fast, then suddenly one Brahmana came. And Brahmana came and said that, okay, I'm hungry, please feed me. So he gave Brahmana, the food stuff, the foods for the Brahmana. And after the Brahmana, there is another Kshatriya came, and then a Vaishya came, and then a Sudra came, and then below, after that, a Chandal came, and after that, there were some animal came. At the end, a bird came and wanted to have some water. So he had this last, just a small cup of water to break his fast. So he also gave that away to that bird. So we just see for a king, why they have to go through this. But this shows the qualities of the leader. The qualities of the leader needs to be magnanimous. You can't have leaders where there is no quality. We do these days. We have the leaders that we try to get. If you say, okay, how magnanimous they are, but from which sense we say that? We don't get that kind of leaders these days, that from any quality in them that we can say that, okay, this is something which is really magnanimous. From all the materialistic leaders, they just try to get the position by hook or crook, but irrespective of having any quality or not. But the followers also doesn't matter for them, because they also don't see if the leader have any quality or not. If the leader is giving them back something, they said, okay, it's a give and take. So the leader gave me something, I'm happy with that, so I'll do something for the leader. That's it. So it's a give and take policy. But if we see in these Vedic ages, the leader, there needs to be their qualities, something they were responsible for everything. Everything that happens in their region, in their country, they were responsible for everything. We read in Ramayana that in the kingdom of Lord Ram, if one day, if one season there wasn't any rain, the king was responsible for that. They used to go and ask the king that why there was no rain, why a baby died. A baby shouldn't be died, a baby shouldn't be dead, because it's not the proper age for death. So they have to be responsible for everything, because they used to rule as per all the Vedic principles. So that's why they were able to manage all these things. There will be rain, there will be prosperity, there will be the human, all the living beings are under their shelter. So this just shows that these are the qualities. And with Parikshit Maharaj, that actually after he gone, that lineage of kings, that is also gone. So that is the last, from Kali Yuga. When Krishna left, that is the beginning of Kali Yuga. So, but that is Parikshit Maharaj was the last king from that lineage. After that, we never had any kind of those kings who actually have this kind of magnanimous quality. So then, just going forward, so we'll be going through today. It's as per the time, I would like to cover until text 26. So we are in text 25 now. So the child will be like Bali Maharaj in patience, a staunch devotee of Lord Krishna like Prahlad Maharaj, a performer of many Ashwamedh sacrifices, and a follower of the old and experienced men. So the child will be like Bali Maharaj in patience. So when you say patience, and you see that what is the definition of patience? One of the definition of patience is that someone who actually go through all, similar, like go through all the misgivings, all the bad times, without making any complaints. Although they can see that it's not their fault, but they still go through that, and they go through that and without complaining. Bali Maharaj was saying that uh, this young boy came and was asking for 3 feet of land. Excuse me. And he knew that, and his guru was telling that, don't go for it, he's Vishnu, he's tricky, he's tricking you. And he said no, he's just waiting for that, when it's going to happen. So he disobeyed his own spiritual master. And then when that small boy says, okay, now I want to take the 3 feet of land, and he just took the whole all over the world. But then also we saw that, that Bali Maharaj lost everything, right? He had the patience to go through it. It's not easy when you are losing something, right? If it goes like a snap, that one thing. But with time, if you are saying day by day you are losing something, it's not very easy to have patience and sit down and just see that, okay, this is Lord's will and I'm losing things. It's not very easy. It's like, for us, we become so much, it gives us so much anxiety, so much, we get depressed. Like, why I'm losing this? Why this is happening to me? So this keeping this patient is not a easy thing to do. But Bali Maharaj, he was seeing that everything he lost, right? And but then what happened? The Lord gave him the protection. He said that, okay, you go and you stay there. I'll give you a planet, and you know what? I'm going to guard your planet. So what better you can ask for? But before that, he was going through that whole patience. He had to have that patience. Then a staunch devotee of Lord Krishna like Prahlad Maharaj. So we all know about Prahlad Maharaj, So a person, a devotee, a small child who was trying to, his father is trying to kill him. What worst thing that can happen? If you, we saw here, Parikshit Maharaj was trying to get, he was Akshatthama was from the other side of the, from the Kurus. He was trying to kill him. Then we saw, then there are, Pandavas, Kauravas always try to kill Pandavas, although they are cousin brothers. But here we see that own father is trying to kill Prahlad Maharaj, Hiranyakashipu. But did it did it affected him in his sadhana? No. So that's why it says a staunch devotee is very staunch, because this kind of thing, when it happens, it just broke your heart, because you think that, oh, this is my father and he's trying to harm me. So it's time and again, it just we go through, when our near and dear ones hurt us, it's those are the time it's very hard to actually pull back, take us we stand up and we actually face that. It's very hard at that point of time. Most of the time it's what happened that we just give up. We just say that for them, they are my near and dear ones. For them, to do this, and what's the point of doing something? But not for Prahlad Maharaj. He said no. My whatever my father is trying to do, but my main thing is to serve the Lord. So he understood what's the real meaning of life, and he's a staunch devotee. And then again, he said that, and Parikshit Maharaj will be a follower of the old and experienced men. So when Parikshit Maharaj came to know that he is going to be dead in 7 days by Taksha, by the venomous snake, what he did, he just he just sat down on the bank of the Ganges, and then with whom? With all the old and experienced sages. And he just said that, tell me what to do. I know that in 7 days I'm going to be dead. Tell me what needs to be done. So he just surrendered. Then the text 26, the child will be the father of kings who will be like sages, like, he will be the father of Janmajay, right? We know. For world peace and for the sake of religion, he will be the chastiser of the upstarts and quarrelsome. So we know that Parikshit Maharaj, he got hold of Kali. He was almost like, trying to kill Kali, but obviously if that happened, then we don't have this whole pastimes and everything, like, wouldn't happen. So, but he was like, he was the protector. He will always make sure that, that for the sake of religion, for peace, that it needs to be upheld all the time. Like, there shouldn't be anything which actually harm that. So up to this text 26, the Brahmanas explained that what will be the, like, what kind of king Parikshit Maharaj will be. And as we read here, he actually fit, like, he tick all the boxes. Like, he will be like, all the great kings that we have read about. Almost everyone's name is mentioned here. So that's how it's wonderful. The king Parikshit Maharaj will be. So in the next, so from 27, so next tomorrow, from 27 to 36, we'll see that last part of it, like where after this, the after Parikshit Maharaj born, then Lord Krishna is living from there, from Hastinapur for Dwarka. And then we go to the next chapter. We will start the next chapter tomorrow, which will be when Dhritarashtra retires from this kingdom. So thank you very much for attending today's session. We will again join tomorrow and carry on with this wonderful pastime of Emperor Parikshit. Vancha kalpataruvascha kripa sindhuvaivacha patithanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. अनंतपुरी वैष्णव वृंद की जय, नमाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, श्रील गुरुदेव की जय। बोल प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल। हरे कृष्णा।